Okay, number 16 says cosine negative 29 pi over 6. First thing to pay attention to is because it says negative, we're going to be going around the graph clockwise. That gives me negative radian measures or angle measures. And I also want to pay attention to it says 29 pi over 6. So 2 pi would be 12 pi over 6. So right here when I made this full circle, that was negative 2 pi, which is the same thing as negative 12 pi over 6, because negative 12 over 6 is 2. If I do that again, I'm at another negative 12 pi over 6, so now I'm at negative 24 pi over 6, or negative 4 pi. And I'm trying to get to negative 29 pi over 6, so I need to go 5 pi over 6 more, which is going to put it right there. So technically this entire graph in blue is negative 29 pi over 6. That means that I have a reference angle theta prime is going to equal pi over 6. A negative 30 pi over 6 would have been negative 5 pi. That's coterminal to negative pi. So I know that there is a pi over 6 reference angle. And so really I just want to find the cosine of pi over 6. And then I want to pay attention to what quadrant we're in. So cosine of pi over 6, cosine pi over 6 is the smaller angle, 30 degrees. Cosine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. So cosine pi over 6 is going to be square root of 3 over 2. And then cosine, by definition, cosine theta is equal to x over r. I know that the x's are negative on the left side of the graph. Okay, all the x's are negative. So if I was putting a point here, it'd be negative x comma y. Because the x's are negative, that means cosine of negative 29 pi over 6, because that's in quadrant 3, is going to be equal to negative square root 3 over 2. Some students use the all students take calculus to tell you what's positive in each quadrant. I would much rather you know your trig values based on whether or not x is positive or negative, or y is positive or negative. That shows a more intelligent way of understanding the math. It's also faster than saying all students take calculus, so S, does that mean sine is positive? Does that mean sine is negative? I know students can do that quickly. You should be able to do it just as quickly with the basic definitions. So cosine theta is equal to x over r. X is negative on the left side of the graph, so my angle is negative 3 pi over 2. If you needed to know where the 3 pi over 2 came from, you can draw yourself a right triangle with a 30, 60, and 90 degree angle, or angles. So pi over 6 is a 30. You need to know your ratios. The angle 30 across from side 1, angle 90 is across from the side length 2, angle 60 is across from side length root 3, because those go in order of smallest to greatest, 1, square root of 3, and 2. And so cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine of 30 degrees is equal to square root of 3 over 2.